My name is Michael Ramsey. I'm the section chief for the current use program. I'm going to start the presentation by sharing my screen and then going over exactly what we're going to be discussing and training on. All right, I was told that a familiar face should be doing this training, so if I'm not familiar to you, I've added my picture there. Again, I'm Michael Ramsey. I manage the current use program on the property valuation and review side. Today's December 12th, and we have specialists from the current use joining us. I also have a team that helped us roll out the VTax project, more than helped. I believe most of you know that EQs is sunsetted, and we've done our best to consolidate all of current use into myVTax. A lot of towns are already using myVTax for withdrawals is a good example of that. But now in myVTax, a landowner or any other agent can create a user account or even log in as not a user and enter an application, enter a forest management activity report, or enter an agricultural certification. I'm not going to use acronyms throughout. Well, I will. That's why I'm making this announcement. I will use a few acronyms. One of those is going to be FEMAR, which again stands for Forest Management Activity Report, and I'll also use the term AgCert, which stands for Agricultural Certification. I don't think any of us here are lay people, but I just want to be safe. So let's get going on the presentation here. So a quick overview of what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be, I'm going to show you what the consulting forester account looks like. We're actually going to walk through how to enter an application. We're going to look at the search function on the consulting forester home screen, which allows you to look at the most previous application for any enrollment in the state. And it also allows you to access drafts, pending applications, and approved applications that you as the user has submitted. We're going to go through the we're going to walk through filing of a forest management activity report, and we're also going to do the same for an agricultural certification. So on the screen I have here now, what I have are pictures that display the home screen of myVTax. So if you go to that web address that I have on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, myvtax.vermont.gov, it will send you to a page that looks like this. And on the left is how a non-user can log in and enter an application, FEMAR or agricultural certification. I've got it circled down there on the left. They can click that current use tab, and it'll allow them to start performing the work they need to do. On the right hand of the screen is that same page, but it's the top of it, where a consulting forester will need to set up an account. And once they have an account, they can log in by entering their username and password. I created a consulting forester account. I'm pretending to be a consulting forester here. I don't want to offend anybody by that, but it was just the best way to kind of get this presentation set up. So my username was mramsey, and I entered my password, and I hit that login button, and it took me to this screen. This is the consulting forester home screen on your user account. So once you're logged in, you'll see that Michael Ramsey, the consulting forester, up there with my email and a phony phone number. I encourage you to use a real phone number. And I have links to all the different options I have as a consulting forester. I can search submissions, which we'll talk about later. I can submit a current use application. I can submit a forest management activity report. Over there to the right, I can send messages through myVTax. We at this point, you can do what you'd like. You can continue sending us emails if you prefer to contact a specialist through that medium. But if you send us a letter, if you send us a message in myVTax, we most likely will answer it back through myVTax, unless you want to take it offline, and then we can switch gears. Below the messages box, you'll see the search current use enrollments. And you can click on the search current use applications. Again, we'll talk about that later in the training. And then there's a letters function over there to the right. If anyone has tried to log in and access the letters, you probably won't have any letters because you won't have any enrollments there. But even now, if you do, we're still building that out. So you probably won't be able to use that function right away. So as I promised, what we're going to do first is we're going to start off showing you what the application entry process inside of VTax looks like. So what you would do is you would go to where I have circled, submit current use application, and it would take you to the first page of the application. So this has been set up very similar to how the EQ's application was, except that the format is different. It's a little more streamlined. I think it looks cleaner, and you'll see a ribbon at the top there with an arrow that says application reason. That's just showing us what page of the application we're on, and you'll see as I proceed through this application, that ribbon will extend through each page, and I can click back if I need to, and I'll revisit that comment so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But nothing big has changed here. I am submitting an application for a client, and I know that the parcel's not enrolled, so I'm clicking not currently enrolled, and then I'm going to hit the next button down here. All right, that's going to take me to the next page, agent information. As I said, that little bar up there at the top, you can see now we're at the second page, agent information. Now, if I messed up the first page, I can click on that little check right there on application reason, and it'll take me back, and I can make a change. But we don't have to do that because we filled it out correctly. So here I have to enter the agent information. I apologize about this because you've already logged in as a consulting forester, but I'm not going to repeat this too many times because there are things that can be improved in the system. Just know that we hit a pretty aggressive go live date. The team put a lot of effort into building this out to meet everyone's needs and for the program to be effective and efficient. And we have a pull list of items. We don't have any major problems with the system. It's been live for 2 days now, and we've started approving applications. I believe we can say that from what we've seen, it's been a very successful rollout, but there are improvements that we can make, and we very much plan on doing that. So here you have to fill out your agent information. You have to click Consulting Forester. Is there a Consulting Forester to help prepare this application? Yes, that's me. I put my information in here, and then I hit Next. Now we're at the primary owner information page. Don Henley is the applicant here. I don't know if he lives in the state of Vermont, but it'd be pretty cool if he did. So I've entered my client's information, Don Henley. If he were an owner or trustee, I would check that box. If he were a remainderman, I would check that box. I put in the street address and all the rest of the address information. And this is a bit different. I don't know if many people have seen this. It's new to me anyway, since working at the state. VTax requires you to validate addresses. So, and that comes off of the USPS database. So when you enter the address, you're going to have to hit that validate button before you can move forward in the application. So we hit next, and now we're at additional owners. So I've included an owner to this application. Big Bird. What I did was I just went to this little check bar here, add an owner, click that, and it gave me the option to do this. Big Bird is a trustee, so of a trust. So I check that box. I can delete that owner if I need to. And this is important to know that on some of these pages, if I make an error, it will not let me move forward. And I'll show you examples of that as we proceed, but this is a good one here. Sesame Street at vermont.gov is the email that I used. When I confirmed that email, I forgot to put the T. So when I hit next, it populated this warning notice saying that I need to confirm the email before I keep going. So I made sure that I put T on the end of that Sesame Street, and once I did, it allowed me to continue forward. Now we're at the property description. We're at like the meat and potatoes of the application now. This is a drop-down menu here, property location in town or city. I chose Addison. That will pre-populate the 6 first digits of the span, and then I need to enter the last 5 digits of the span. Again, this looks very familiar to the EQS application. I've got a mark here whether the parcel is located in more than one town. I put no here. I have a location 911 address that I put there, and according to the town's grand list, how many acres are in the parcel, I put 100. I don't have any adjoining parcels listed to the property, and I have a 2-acre house site. If I put that 2-acre house site there, it requires me to put a description before I can move forward. And I did that. If I were to have to put, were there any adjoining parcels, I would have had to put an explanation there before moving forward in the application. Okay. What type of land am I enrolling? Well, I've got 3 check boxes I can choose from over there. And for this enrollment, for Don Henley, he's got agricultural land and he's got forest land. This is another good example of where VTax is going to check our work for us. So I said that this was a 100-acre parcel, and I said there's 20 acres of agricultural land and there's 88 acres forest land. Well, that doesn't add up to 100, and VTax is smart enough to know that. So it populated a warning here saying that combined acres cannot exceed total enrolled acres. I had to change that 88 to the correct number so that it added up to 98 because we have a 2-acre exclusion. Moving on, if you're enrolling less than 25 acres, so since I'm trying to enroll agricultural land, I need to qualify as a farmer or lease to a qualified farmer or generate at least $2,000 from the sale of farm crops on the agricultural land. In this case, I am leasing to a farmer, and when I hit that button there, it required me to put in a lease expiration date. And I didn't have to put anything here for conservation land because I'm not enrolling conservation land. So once I made those changes to the forest acres, and the total enrolled acres was a correct total, then I was able to hit the next button and move forward. The transfers tab, don't let this confuse you. It's going to pop up whether it's a new enrollment or a transfer. It is helpful for us if you can fill this information out, but none of these fields are required. So I'm going to move past this page. All right, building details. Do you have a house site? Yes. How many? One. What is it? It's a yurt. Do you intend to enroll any farm buildings used for agricultural purposes? Yes, I do. And then I had to say whether I qualified for as a farmer, or whether I was leasing the building to a qualified farmer. And because I'm leasing it, I've got to put in a building lease expiration date there. This is an example of an applicant filling out the application incorrectly. I didn't put enough buildings there at the bottom. I said that I've got a yurt, and I also believe I clicked yes there that I have farm employee housing. So I should have put those down there in this table. But that's why we have. It's one of the reasons why we have specialists. We don't mind making those corrections for you, but it is very helpful if it's filled out correctly. And what I've done is what I did was I know that I need to enroll a barn. So this is a drop down menu. I don't type it in. I click on that box there under type of building, and it gives me a list of buildings to enroll. I have a option to explain when it's an other, and then over to the right, I say there's one barn and I only want to enroll one barn. And it let me move forward once I hit next. Okay, quick and easy here. Agricultural land, there's 20 acres. Any of it used for maple production? No, it's not. Is the agricultural land subject to an easement? Yes, but do I have legal rights to access and manage that easement? I do. So very similar to what we've been doing in the past here. I populated that same error for you here on the screen so that you can see kind of what it looks like. And what's nice here is myVTax actually does the math for you, or it did the math for me when I screwed up. So we've got to give descriptions about the forest acres, and I have said that I had 88 acres of productive forest here, and that is incorrect. It's supposed to be 78 acres. And VTax, when I entered that, VTax gave me that little box there that you see, and it told me. So what you can't see there to the left very well is you've got to answer how many of these acres are used for maple production, and then you've got the two more boxes about easements. And then we hit next. And we're moving right along. Do a quick time check. Yeah, I got to move a little faster here. This is a nice feature. We can review our entire application. So we're at the review information page. I can just scroll down. I can see everything I entered here. And then if I did scroll down, you'd see I can hit next, and here we go. We are at the attached supporting documentation page, and there is some language here of how we would like you to attach that information. Keith Thompson is here, I think. I'm not sure. I don't have a whole group, but
yes,
if he wants
to.
Here. Oh, go ahead, Keith. I don't know if you want to make any corrections to this on how you want to how you would like to receive maps or FMVs. I think this kind of implies that you'd like it mailed to you, but
yep, for right now, folks will mail 3 hard copies of the map to us and at the county forester's address, and I'll drop a link in the chat for those addresses. Most folks are right now emailing forest management plans and digital maps that meet our needs.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, thank you.
If you've got if you're just enrolling agricultural land, you can submit a map online through here. You can still mail it to us. That's fine as well. If you have a lease, you can attach it here. And once you've made your attachments, you want to move forward. All right, here's some payment information. You can pay with a check. You can pay through your bank account, or you can pay with a credit card. And this is also maybe a good time for me to stop and just tell you that you'll see on every slide down to the left a save draft button. You can save your draft through any point of the application process, and it will be saved in your account. So when we go to the search tab at your home screen, you can access it right where you left off. So we hit next. Here's some credit card instructions here. If you're paying for credit card, I'm going to breeze over this real quick. And confirmation page. And you're just here certifying that all the information is correct. And that's the end of the application. What happens from there is if for the owners that need to sign, emails are sent to those owners and they certify to the application through those emails. Important to note, a lot of VTax stuff happens overnight. So what happens is if I submitted this application today, the requests for owners to sign will go out tomorrow. And once all those requests are signed, it enters our system. And also important to know that we won't start reviewing an application until we receive all the signatures and payment. Okay, so that we went through that, I think, at a pretty good pace. I hope it wasn't too fast for anybody, but general idea of what an application looks like, how to enter it, and of course, if you have any questions, if you need to get in there and enter an application today or next week, please feel free to call. We can give you a hand. But we're gonna, for the sake of time, we're gonna keep on trucking. So we're gonna talk about our search function for drafts, pending, and processed applications. So again, we've gone back to our Consulting Forester homepage here. And instead of submit current use applications, we're going to search for one of our submissions. So what I did is I clicked on search submission, where that big round circle is. And it brought me to this screen, and I have an option. I can look at my drafts, I can look at pending applications, and I can look at processed applications. Pretty straightforward. Since I've already submitted my application, I have one pending. I've got the confirmation number there, so it's been submitted. And if I click that button, it'll show me the application that I submitted. Important to know, once it's been submitted, you can't make changes to it. That's not different. That's not anything different than what we've been doing. But this would look different if you were looking at a draft. If you were looking at a draft, it would give you the option to edit. So staying here on the search function, we can also search for existing enrollments. This is pretty cool, and we are going to make improvements to it as well, but this is how it's set up for now. From our Consulting Forester homepage, you can search current use applications. You can search for any application that was most recently approved for any enrollment in the state. So I go down here on my homepage, I go to the circle, search current use applications, and it takes me to this screen. And I have to enter this information so that I can look at that most recently approved. I'm sorry, if I said submitted application, I meant most recently approved application for an enrollment. So I can look, I have to look it up by the property town and the span number. I can foresee an improvement here so that a consulting forester can look up an enrollment and in an easier way than this. So maybe looking it up by name or just a town and looking through enrollments. That is on our pull list. So I hope to kind of give you good news on an update here sometime this year. So here's an example of that. Well, here is that application here's that application for the enrollment that I looked up in Johnson. So if I wanted to fill out a new application here, I can kind of play off of this one that was most recently approved. So now we are going to jump right into how to enter a forest management activity report. So this is right back to the old consulting forester home screen here, where you see I've circled, we're going to submit a forest management activity report. Click on that. And here's that. It looks just like the application. You've got that ribbon at the top that follows you throughout the form process. So I've got to enter parcel information for, and I know the town's in Johnson. I've got the span number. I've got the last four of the owner's ID and the reporting year 2025. Hit next. Primary owner information. Pretty straightforward. I can add an owner here if I need to. Here's the activities page. Sorry, it's a little small, but shouldn't look much different than what has been available to you. This just like the other tables, this is a drop-down menu. So if you have to pick an activity, you can pick it here through the drop-down, and then additional comments is available. I haven't done a whole lot. I've never done a FEMAR before. I'm not on that end of things, so I apologize if this looks a little basic. But you know, my additional comments: made a select cut, reporting years 2025, hardwood, saw timber. You can enter your volume units, volume, major species harvested, etc. You can report any sugaring activity, and there are no required fields here. This might be a good time for me to mention, if you come across a required field, it will have an asterisk next to it. And there aren't many of them, because we don't want to hold you back from getting us an application online by creating a bunch of obstacles. So yeah, you can review your information here for the FEMAR. This is just like the application. It gives you kind of an overview of everything. And I hit that yellow button, should be a little further to the right here. I apologize, but it should be hovering over the submit button. And then here's your confirmation page. You can print the forest management activity report by hitting that print button for your records. And that's it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Again, if you have any questions, we might even, at our pace, we might even have time at the end of the training to take them, because we're on agricultural certifications, and I'm not sure how many consulting foresters are doing ag certifications, but felt like it was safe to go ahead and show you what it looks like. Also, I'd like to let you know that if you try to do an ag cert, I'm not even sure if it's available on your consulting forester home screen now, but even if it is, you're not a consulting forester, cannot submit an ag cert from a user login. You have to do it from the non-user login, which is on the home page, and you just click current use, and then it'll take you to this screen. This is what the non-user application portal looks like. If a non-user logs in to submit an application, they can just click here and get going. So if they want to do an ag cert, boom, click on that button there that's in the red circle. Pretty straightforward here. Which property are we trying to certify? Well, the one in Johnson with a span 51468. We have to enter then we get the property information here. I believe this is pre-populated. Oh, yeah, it pre-populates. I'm glad I made a note. Got to trust my notes. So this pre-populates for you. If you have any information that you need to update on your agricultural certification, here's the page to do it. So here I've said, you know, I had the option to say no, nothing's changed, and you know, there's no transfer, but I got my ag cert and then had to report, well, yeah, some of my land did transfer. So I click this button here. Do you need to correct or update your mailing address? Yeah, well, I need to do that too. And do you need to correct or update any agricultural leases? Yeah, I need to do that as well. So I click those boxes and then hit next. I didn't have any comments on the enrollment. But if I did, I could have entered them in that box down there below. So here's transfer information, because I said that the land transferred. So I have the opportunity to put it here. Big Bird was the person that transferred the land to, and I got to put in a date for when it happened. This individual taxpayer here, this option, well, this field here is going to show on a lot of different application types. It's a drop-down menu, so you can pick from individual taxpayer, or if it's a business, you can choose a business. Owner information here, pretty straightforward. Got to validate the address down here. You got to do it. I said that my lease updated on that screen back there. This screen would not have popped up if I had not clicked that, but since I did, it's here. So I've got to answer some questions about a lease. If I want to add attachments, so since I had to update my lease, if I want to add that as an attachment to my agricultural certification, then I can do that here on this screen. And just for pretend, I'm going to update it. I'm going to attach my new lease, and I'm going to press OK, and that's going to be there, and then I'm going to hit next. And then I have to certify that I've filled this out to the best of my knowledge, and Norman Gordon was the person that is submitting this on this agriculture certification in the future, December 13th, 2027. Just ignore that. I think we did that because we were doing this in a testing environment. So, and then we get a summary of what we filled out. We hit submit. We have a confirmation page, just like the FEMAR. So, and just like the application, so we can print that off for our own records if we'd like, and we also encourage. Okay, so we have entered an application. We explored the search functions. We entered a FEMAR. We submitted an agricultural certification. And I've got a couple important notes here. One, I've maybe a couple I've said already, but they're worth repeating. Certification emails don't go out until the following day after submission. An app won't be reviewed until payment and signatures have been completed. We advise against working in a landowner's user account since it contains confidential tax information. So if you're a consulting forester, I would advise you to fill out an application for an agent for a landowner in your account. Don't let them set up an account and then log into their account and do it, because it can house some sensitive and confidential tax information. Create your login. If you haven't done so already, please go in and the consulting forester function is, I believe, it's going to be really helpful in the future, and the functionality of it is only going to improve. So I highly encourage you to go in there and create a login if you haven't already. And our next training, we're going to do this again because I think we gave this pretty short notice. Our next training will be on January 13th, and we have a recording of this one as well that I believe we're going to post. So we did pretty good. We did really good. Hope I didn't go too fast. We've got about 20 minutes. I can do my best to field any questions, and I just a heads up, I'm not the developer. I manage the current use program, and so if I might have to ping pong some of the questions around to them, but we're definitely do our best. So I'll leave it at that, and go ahead if anybody has a question.
Mike, Alan Thompson here. Thanks for the stuff.
Thanks,
wondering
Alan.
if you could go through a little bit of what a landowner will receive when we send the application off to them.
We are still working on that, but they should receive emails letting them know that an application has been submitted.
So
And
usually what happens is landowners will ask us what the process is, and it'd be nice to be able to help guide them through whatever checkbox or certification they'll have to do. So have you seen that side of it yet?
Have I seen what side of the landowner's application process looks like?
When the landowners open an email from myVTax being asked to certify an application, I'm curious what that process looks like, if it's any different than EQs or any guidance we could receive so that we could pass on to those landowners.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Michael, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I'm close. I think I got the right answer, but I'm not going to risk it and let you do it.
All right. They will get an email that night with the certification, and that will continue to send weekly until we receive the signature. And then they will get a letter after submission on what was submitted for them. Is that what you're asking?
And just so everybody knows, this is Jen McNall. She's the assistant director of the bid team, and it was a very important person in the rollout of this project.
Maybe I'll just do a quick process from EQs and ask if there's any major changes from that. So landowners receive the email, asked to review the application, input their social security number or EIN, and then click a sign and certify button. Any major changes from those 3 steps?
No.
I've got a few others. If I can. Consulting Foresters had old accounts with many applications and submissions associated with them. Are we able to access those accounts?
You want me to handle that, Jen? I can. So Alan, I think we were very prepared for this question to come up, and the team has been working really hard on some resolution here. A lot of it has to do with our existing contract with EQs, which we've been pushing to extend for 6 months. A lot of it depends on whether they're going to allow us to extend that contract. So best case scenario, EQs remains read only for another 6 months, which allows us a little breathing room to come up with a strategy on how to make sure that you all still have access to those enrollment submissions.
Thank you. That'd be great and helpful, and maybe any like heads up when it evaporates or when it will evaporate.
Okay. Yeah, Alan, I do promise you, we've been putting a lot of effort into making sure that it'll work. We just got to kind of push EQs to where they need to be on their end for it.
One quick last question I hope is that I just tried to do a forest management activity report for my personal property through my consulting forester account on myVTax, and it says I don't own any forest, or that there's no forest associated with this owner. So I'm wondering if I'm missing a step, if there's something missing in the system, or if my consulting forester account somehow isn't linked. I'm not quite sure how to get over that.
I see Jen looking around the room there. She's got a couple other really helpful people with her.
I think to give you the best answer on that one, I would need to look at the span.
Mm-hmm.
But I would,
Well,
my first question would be if you're the primary owner. And that might be something you don't know.
The first question is, what's the first and last name and email? And once that's inserted, it says that there's no forest associated with those names.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at it to get you the best answer, but not a good first try for you. I would agree.
Well, I've done it for a few other landowners too. There's a barrier here that it makes it.
Okay, we'll have to take a look at that when we hop out the call.
Mm-hmm.
I have not submitted one since we went live on Wednesday, so we'll have to take a look.
I'm actually really
yeah,
no, and I'm actually really glad this brought to our attention kind of early on, so we can address it. There's going to be, like with any other rollout this size, there are going to be bugs that we got to figure out. So glad it's on the radar.
Yeah, and this might be a good time to say, as you guys, if you run into any of those things, great time to email Michael and he can get that over to the people who work on my team so we can look into those things. If it feels like something should be working a different way or used to it, now it's not, let us know. Because we don't always know until you complain.
Thanks, guys. I'm done.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, I've got a hand up if you're looking for the next person.
I see someone with the initials FC with 2 hands raised.
Yeah, this is Andrew Morrison from Forest Care. Can you hear me?
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, so I thought it would be an opportune time to go and try to log into an account. I already have a myVTax account personally, as I'm sure some folks probably do. And so it gives an option to have access to current use appended to that account, presumably, or create a new account. Could somebody explain, are there pros and cons to either of those approaches?
We heard you. We heard you there. I think just waiting on Jen.
I could tell you're thinking, yeah.
Yeah. All right, sorry, had to consult on that one. So what you're seeing, if you logged into like your normal personal or your Meals and Room sales and use account, what you're gonna see there is your own personal current use enrollment, or that's what it's gonna try to connect to.
Okay.
You'll have to set up a separate account for what we're considering like a preparer account on myVTax.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And when I set up a personal account, you receive an access code through the mail. Is that going to be the same for creating one of? So, okay.
No, but your clients will have to do that if they want to set up their current use personal accounts. They will have to get the access code through the mail. But for your login, you won't have to.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
That expedites when I can start.
Yes.
Submitting my backlog of transfers. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, I don't see any other hands raised, so I'm going to take that as the information was very clear and understandable. And
Mike,
and
Alan
everybody-
Thompson's back.
oh, okay, Alan.
I'm going
What
to
you
chew
got
on these
for
10
us?
minutes.
Okay.
Buildings. This application asks us a little bit more clearly to list all buildings on the property, even ones we don't intend to enroll. Potentially always a requirement, but something that I might have neglected to list buildings that weren't intended to be enrolled. Firewood sheds, even sugar houses. What guidance should we give to landowners to know what constitutes a building and how they know which buildings to list?
I think that's a good policy question. But if it's an agricultural building that they want to receive benefits on, barn, silo, farm employee housing, etc., then they definitely want to list those. And then, any other building there that they believe is going to get taxed on, that is eligible, they want to put that on the application. Now, you're probably talking specifically about non-eligible buildings, I guess.
Or buildings that won't and are not intended to be enrolled. Or we could, if sticking with your example, non-eligible buildings. So those need to be listed.
Yes. Yeah, they do. And really, it should be any structure that's on the property.
There's all different kinds of examples of structures that are on properties. And maybe I'll pose offer some guidance I provide landowners, which is if it's recognized by the town, it goes on the application. If it's not recognized and taxed by the town, it doesn't need to go on the application.
Mm-hmm.
Is that jive?
I think it's we see very often that sometimes people just put we don't check the lister cards every time we approve an application, so we do see people try to avoid risk by enrolling farm buildings that aren't being taxed, because I guess worst case scenario, a lister might go out there, see that building, notice that it's not taxed, and then worst case scenario, the applicant cannot get timely enrollment of that by the September 1 deadline, and they have a year of benefits, a year of paying the full fair market value on that structure. I imagine it would, if it's not being taxed on for a long time, it's not the most valuable building on earth, but we do see people do it. I hope that doesn't mess up the guidance that I hope that doesn't muddy up the guidance that you've been giving people, but it's just, we see it, full transparency. We see that
that's
sometimes.
Great. I don't see any major changes to that. You suggested moving past, in the transfer page, you suggested moving past some of the boxes that we weren't fully familiar with or would be able to answer. For example, date of recording and date of deed closing were one of the questions. Those are not required elements, and oftentimes unknown to landowners and certainly therefore foresters. You just provided guidance to skip that.
Well, the reason, and I apologize if I was unclear there. The reason I said that it may have been confusing in the example I gave was because we were doing an application for a new enrollment and not a transfer. But even if you do a new enrollment, that transfer page will be there. So, if it's a new enrollment, then maybe the property hadn't transferred for 20 years. They just have decided they want to enroll it. So there's not going to be a high expectation of people information there in that case. We would still like it. And it definitely, for a transfer, we would hope that the information there would be filled out and accurate.
So
even though I know it's not always easily accessible.
Correct. It's not always easily accessible. I mean, what the assumption here is that landowners or foresters have recorded deeds in hand with dates, dates stamped on the deeds.
I think we envision a world one day, because property transfer tax returns are on VTax. I think if Michael had his way, there'd be a world one day where that information just pre-populated. We're not there yet, but
Second that, Mike. That'd be great.
Okay, cool. Take as much support as I can get.
Yeah.
Jen, I saw you. Go ahead.
I don't have much more to add on what you were just talking about. Ken did provide in the chat, the date is required on the transfer, but it can be the closing date as well. If you don't know the recording date.
One or the other is requested.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I wanted to go back to your question, or really your note about the FEMARs, how it wasn't letting you file yours. So slight program history here. When we converted into the new system, about 40% of our enrollments, we did not have identification numbers for, so we did not have SSNs or FEINs associated with them because they're from a time period that we weren't asking for them. So that's made a couple of our processes a little wonky, and you have called out a good one that we have to change. From your consulting forester accounts, it's looking up by that first name, last name, but since we haven't registered that connection on missing IDs, it's not recognizing that. But if you filed it non-login, it's looking it up by the span, which we have, and it would let you. So we'll have to make a fix there so that you can do that span option as well on the consulting forester accounts. But if you wanted to do one today, you could do it non-login.
That'd be great. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Maybe one note on assisting some streamlining is when we start off the application, it asks to put in the consulting forester name and email contact, which seems a little repetitive since we're already doing this from a standard account, which has all of our information stored.
Yeah, someone else pointed that out as well. That is on our list to streamline for you. One thing I'm going to advocate for you all. You probably all will create consulting forester accounts, but going to advocate for it because it's a super, super easy way for the tax department to communicate with you. Right now, we're going through Keith, which is great at FPR, but we can move slightly quicker and get out emails really quickly from our system if you sign up for a consulting forester account. So highly encourage that. So as we make these updates, what we can do is we can update you the night we make them on what the changes are going to be.
And one more quick plug here. We have updated almost all of our documents online. And in my opinion, they're very, very helpful. So you can go to the current use homepage and find those there. And we extensively updated the current use user guide. And if you do have to fill out a paper copy, CU 301, then we would love for you to throw all the old ones away if you printed tons of them off and use the new ones, because we've got a scanning project coming up in January, and it will really help us streamline our review. It would be better if it was submitted online, but it would help us streamline our review if those new CU 301 forms are used. Just like Jen said, if you have any questions or you're having trouble, you've got our email information, and I'll stop rambling. I appreciate everybody for attending and hope you have a great weekend.